because not many do.
No.
Let's move on to the other game on Friday night. That was Castleford versus Catalans. 14-4 it was to Castle at half-time. Finished 18 points to 8 winners. 6,147 were there. Tom Grant was the referee. Catalans had more ball despite making 5 more errors, and so did make slightly more meters in the game and had an extra break in the game. But Castleford, despite conceding more penalties, had a better team tackle success rate and, crucially, were 5 from 5 on goal kicks, whereas Catalans were 0 from 2. So that was a big factor in the game. What about individually?
Yep, so for the winning Castleford Tigers, Boeta Farimo went 162 metres, Mahir Fanua 139 metres, Rob's favourite Greg Eden with 1 try 114 metres, and Alex Mello with 102 metres. And for the losing Catalan side, it's Romain Franco with 186 metres, Tom Davis with 146, Joe Chan with 1 try, 9 tackle busts, 141 metres and 2 clean breaks, and Tyrone Mate with 119 metres.
Yeah, I hope Joe Chan gets a good go and a good chance to actually play in the NRL, because it'd be a big loss to Super League for a player who's performed like he has this year to go and then not play.
Yeah.
So I hope the Storm pick him. Fatboy Rob said, awesome performance from a patched up Cass after everyone had written us off. I hadn't, Rob. I tipped you to win.
I put Cass by 10 on my Super Brew, so I got nailed on.
Golden stuff. McShane probably had his best game in the halves. Eden was flawless at fullback, and O'Brien showed his worth, in brackets, I hope he stays on. Tom Grant, in brackets, Leeds twat, was his usual wanky self. He tried his best to give Catalans the win, but Cass were just too good. I hope we don't get him as the ref at Old Trafford. #Coif. That's all we had in on this one, so just really for us to see from the highlights. Was there anything that you pulled out from the highlights that you wanted to mention?
The only things I noticed was the cast tries looked pretty damn easy. And the only other thing I've heard from this game is Rob's tirade about the referee on Twitter while it was going on.
Yeah. I had the same sort of thing about the O'Brien try. The defence seemed to just disintegrate away, and then a huge hole for the Eden try. Whereas you compare that to the Joe Chan try, you would say that the defence wasn't amazing because he managed to bust about 5 tackles on his way to score, but he had to work a lot harder for it.
Yeah.
It's kind of, yeah. And the difference... Sorry, go on.
There's no tackle busts in the top cast stats, is there? And he's got 2 on his own, so...
Well, 9. 9 tackle busts.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I think half of them came on that carry. I think the defence was another thing that I sort of read was quite important, especially in the second half, because the Catalan scoring was done after 50 minutes, and then Cass basically, they had a lead, didn't they, because of the penalties, so they had a 14 points to 8 lead at that point, and then it does sound like their discipline was punished, or ill discipline was punished to an extent on the penalty count. But when Catalans were chasing the game, they had to go for tries. Whereas when Cass got their penalties, they were able to pop over 2 points and just roll the scoreline on, eat some time off the clock. And I think, that just kept rolling it over and making it easier for them to regather themselves for them periods of defence that obviously they also had to be resilient against in the second half. So I think Cass, clearly that's where the credit belongs, as well as some tries that didn't look hard to score.
Yeah. Catalans have had sort of a inconsistent season again, haven't they? They're solidly in the top 4, but you're not my favourite team to back on a bet, are they?
You're not terrified by them at the moment, are you, going into the stage of the season? But, Rob says patched up Cass. Well, Catalans were pretty patched up too, but they did have the first choice spine, so you would have expected better from that. But elsewhere on the pitch...
Patched up Cass is really... I'll show you patched up.
I think it is fair to say Cass are patched up. They didn't have, I'd say, any of their first choice spine playing in their first choice position, other than Westerman, I suppose. Oh, I suppose then you'd say Catalans didn't have Garcia at 13, but 1, 6, 7, and 9 they had first choice in their in their first choice positions. Cass had none of their first choice in their first choice positions. So, but outside of that, there was still a lot of players who played a lot of games for Cass this year, wasn't there? So I think we have to be even-handed in the patched upness of both sides for me.
Yes.
In fact, I think it's probably
even-handed and Rob is not something you put in the same sentence, though, is
well,
it?
it's not. We're all fans. We all get our bias going. What I would say is it's good experience for young players in both camps going through games like this. So, yeah, and it wasn't the young players who lost their heads. It seemed to be the older players because Sam Cassiano got a Grade B dangerous contact charge, 2-match penalty notice for him. Adam Milner got the same, Grade B dangerous contact, 2-match penalty notice. And Suya Matungi got a Grade C dangerous contact. He's obviously slightly better disciplinary history-wise than the other two because he only got bottom end of that ban range, 2 matches for him. But that won't help Cass, will it? Even more players unavailable for next week. It's led to their coach calling for players to get fines rather than bans. Do you have any hot takes on that opinion?
Nah, that's a silly opinion, really, isn't it? I mean, maybe shorter bans with bigger fines, sort of like, I'll say it's the opposite in like the championship and that, isn't it? It's more games and smaller fines.
I think that's because players have the opportunity to just take the charge and not have any kind of financial punishment on the back of it. Like, maybe that's something to consider. If coaches are saying players are more likely to behave themselves if you're taking money out of the pocket than making them miss games, then why aren't they taking money out of their pocket for missing games?
Yeah. Like, only pay a half that week's wages or something.
Sorts it out, or just fine them the 200 quid or whatever they would have got charged. They used to have to pay when they got a charge. I don't know. Like, see if that helps. But I think there's merit in the getting people to pay fines when it's stuff that's not match stuff or not like gameplay stuff. So like for high tackles, I think, and late hits and that sort of stuff, you have to give bans. But for some of the other contrary behaviour stuff like, I would say, contact with a match official. As long as it's, that's where you might swing it around so that your fine is bigger and your ban might be smaller. Especially the ones that are just tippy-tappy stuff that aren't really, like, you think it's a bit harsh on the player there, rather than the ones that are like, clear, he's gone in and been foul, abusive, physical, threatening. That's a big ban and a big fine. That's both. You're getting 500 quid as well as your 6 or 8 games. But where it's like a 1-match ban for like nudging a referee as you're going in to celebrate a try or something.
Yeah, or like if the referee's in a way of trying to tackle someone or...
And I did always sort of think some of the other stuff, like dissent and stuff like that, could be dealt with by fines rather than bans as well. But
I think it depends what's said, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I think there's some merit into having a conversation about it, but I think if coaches think that's going to dissuade players from getting bans, find them yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, have an internal disciplinary as well as because you're hurting your club, aren't you, when you get banned?
That's right. Yeah, I know when Wigan have had a couple of instances where they've stood by players, but given them like big fines, big club fines, that they haven't just kept the money, they've used it for other stuff. But Ben Flower got docked a lot of wages during that 6 months where he wasn't allowed to play. There was an incident between a couple of Wigan players outside a gym late one night, so it wasn't because of the gym, it was because that was just down the end of the road where they all got pissed. Where players ended up getting quite a big chunk of their wages taken off them, a couple of players. So, I know that our club has done that. I'm sure other clubs have done the same, but I think it's something for clubs to maybe think about taking some sort of action on too. As well as reviewing it with the governing body, of course. Let's talk about the unluckiest man in Super League history.
Yeah, seems to be, doesn't he?
So, Lee Radford has confirmed that Sasaya Feki has almost certainly played his last game for the club, following picking up an injury during the game against Catalans. He picked up a quad injury. So, for those who don't know Feki's history, he picked up an injury, I think, in his first pre-season game. That was a serious leg injury that kept him out for basically almost all of his first season. He then came back and played either a reserves or a cup game. I can't remember exactly what it was. Re-aggravated that injury in about 10 minutes. Missed another season. And then this year has had a couple of loan spells in the Championship to get some sort of match fitness. Came in off the bench, didn't he? Played a game, and played this game, got injured in this game. So he's only played 2 Super League games
3
in 3 seasons of being at Cass.
Yeah, it's dreadful injury record. And you have to feel sorry for him because I think he came with quite a big name, didn't he?
Oh yeah, they were expecting big things from him.
Yeah,
it is a huge, poor run of luck.
I know it's not his fault as well, but if he's coming with a big name, you suspect that's a big chunk of your salary cap. Not playing for 3 years as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And Catalans have re-signed young halfback Cesar Rouge on a 2-year contract extension, so that's them looking to the future. Let's move on to the third televised game of the week. We were treated this week, and a lot of people got into a lot of Huddersfield fans love just telling us the first name.
I noticed this when I read.
That's what I found out this week. So it was Salford 33, Huddersfield 16 in the baking hot conditions at the AJ Bale Stadium. 26-6 at half time. Salford tore them apart in the first half and then just did what they needed to win in the second half. 4,400 was the crowd. Healthy contingent of Giants fans amongst that, it has to be said. Liam Moore was the referee. Incomplete stats, unfortunately, for the teams because no Tyler Dupree in the numbers, so can't do a full and fair comparison. So what about the individuals?
Yeah, so for the winning Salford, Joe Burgess with 1 try, 195 metres and 3 offloads. Callum Watkins with 1 try on 156 metres. Shane Wright with 42 tackles. And Dean Cross with 1 try assist and 103 metres. And for the losing Giants, Lewis Senior, 127 metres. Leroy Kudja, 122 with 2 clean breaks. And Tui Lola here with 1 try assist, 7 tackle busts and 122 metres. And Ines Senior with 107 metres.
Yeah, your senior for next year did the
good one.
Got the big numbers there.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing him next year. I think he's probably the long-term Ryan Hall replacement.
It's big shoes to fill.
Yeah, isn't it?
So you took me back a bit there, thinking, can he replace Ryan Hall? Someone has to, I guess.
Not many players who will.
Adam said, seen people on Twitter like Fatboy Rob saying the sin bin wasn't even a penalty, let alone a yellow, when it's always been, I think this is a Giants fan, Adam, as well, he said, when it's always been like that and has been given all season for the same offence. These are the same people that ask for consistency with the refereeing. I think it's fair to call people out for stuff like, when people go against things that we have seen before. We have seen this, haven't we? People holding down either at the end of a game or at the end of a half being a penalty and sometimes being a sin bin. The most notable example was Fafita, wasn't it, in the Magic weekend that kind of turned that Wakefield Toulouse game around. But there's an element of consistency there, isn't there, with that one?
Absolutely, yeah. We've seen it multiple times, haven't we?
The one time we didn't see it, if we're asking for full consistency, was in the Challenge Cup final. But hey ho, only Wigan players supposedly got away with yellow cards in that one. But no, he's right. We have seen it in other games, and I thought it was a fair call.
Yeah, I thought it was a sin bin, and he was taking the piss when he was like 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
And there was no need for it as well. They had the defence set. It wasn't like a clean break.
So stupid, yeah.
Yeah, brain explosion. That brought Huddersfield back into the game.
Who's next?
Dr. Bob Phillips. That had nearly everything apart from the last-minute comeback. Just the right number of mistakes to keep it interesting and some good variety in play. Feels like it might end up being a decent playoff series despite the early part of the season.
The guys chasing the spots seem to be in better form than the guys in the spots, don't they, in a weird way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jamie said, nice to see Salford finally winning their grand final at the third time of asking this year.
Jamie S. I don't know if it's the same person. My first away game in a while.